City Talks with Reuben Abati.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of your number one talk show, City Talks with Reuben Abati, on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051 FM. On this show, we talk about stories of political and human interest and issues that affect us as citizens of Nigeria and as members of the global human community. Today, we'll be discussing a number of issues: state of the nation, national security, but we'll start with May Day. Today is May Day, Workers' Day, May 1, 2021. And we'll be trying to find out whether there is a, opportunity for celebration or whether today should be about reflection. And we have a special guest who has now joined us. It is with great pleasure that we have with us here today Professor Kemi Rotimi. Professor Kemi Rotimi teaches history at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. His research interest is in the history of the police and policing in Nigeria. He has at various times served as head of the Department of History at the Obafemi Awolowo University. He's a member of the Police History Society in the United Kingdom. In 2004, Professor Rotimi consulted for the Ministry of Police Affairs under Alawi Broderick Buzimoden as minister. His main assignment was the setting up of the short-lived Police Performance Monitoring Unit. But his record of service didn't go unnoticed because he later served as one of the 5 consultants empaneled by Minister of Police Affairs Caleb Olubolade, as he then was, in 2013 to prepare a national policy on public safety and security. The document was submitted to General Dambazao as Minister of Internal Affairs in 2015. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 07001051 or you can leave comments on WhatsApp on 09099164403 and on social media accounts at City1051 on Zoom, Twitter, and Facebook. So on behalf of everyone listening, it's with great pleasure that I welcome Professor Kemi Rotimi, our guest for today. Professor Rotimi, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to join and participate in the program.
Well, Prof, quickly, let's go straight into it. Today is a Workers' Day. Should Nigerian workers be celebrating, or they should be protesting, or today should be another day for rededication, re-energizing, refocusing? What's your take?
It is better that Nigerian workers should spend today calling government's attention to the inadequacies and the shortchanging of the workers of Nigeria. We all can recall that there should be a minimum wage of 30,000 in operation for so very many months now. The best that we can say about that is that we don't know how many states have implemented the 30,000 minimum wage. Some have even talked about going back to the 18,000. So we really don't know what is being paid where. And I do not envy the lot of Nigerian workers. So I really don't think it is a day, other than the notional act of it being May Day. There's really not much for Nigerian workers to celebrate. Between the Nigeria Labour Congress leadership and the governors, I think they know best what they are putting Nigerian workers through.
Well, many Nigerians have been very critical of the present leadership of both the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. Some have said that Labour has become lethargic, or they look like the leaders look like they've been compromised. Some people even say that the dynamism of old that we used to see within the trade unions, we don't get to see that anymore, and that many of the leaders are pursuing their own individual agenda, and that's why we haven't had much progress with negotiations between Labour and the relevant departments of state. What's your view? Do you share that opinion?
100%.
Okay. So, how?
I mean, what? Just my preliminary remarks. I've said it all. I.e., if workers are supposed to be, it should have been earning 30,000 minimum wage for months now, if not over a year. Are we really there? How many states have implemented the minimum wage of 30,000? But what we can recall is that some states have talked about going back to 18,000. Even the 18,000 have they started paying, and we are all familiar with developments in Kaduna. I commend him for his honesty about look, this burden is too much. I think I have to downsize. But then, how many other governors have been that forthright? And so, are workers really enjoying the benefits that should accrue to them from their sweat? The answer is no, or I don't think so. So there's not much to comment on about the lot of the Nigerian worker. The leadership of the NLC and the governors know best why they are doing what they are doing and how they are doing it.
Prof, some people have said that the problem we have with the new national minimum wage, despite the fact that it's a matter of law, having been signed into law as a bill into law on April 18, 2019 by President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, with the situation in which the Nigerian worker has found himself or herself, some people are saying restructuring will solve the problem. That in a proper federation, it shouldn't be the responsibility of the federal government to worry about workers' welfare, and that every state should pay according to what it can afford. You think restructuring will solve that problem?
What has restructuring got to do with a baseline? National minimum wage will always be there if we must live together in peace and harmony. It is not about the fact that states cannot vary what they can pay, but there is a minimum. That's what the word. I think the operative word here is minimum, national minimum wage. Every country has the minimum in America per hour or per minute or whatever. So it's about the national minimum wage. What has restructuring got to do with it? If what restructuring anyway? I mean, it is about the national minimum wage. You can go higher, but you can't go lower. That's my understanding of the word minimum. So I don't think it's much about what states are capable of paying. No, no, it's about the minimum wage.
Well, but some people are also arguing that yes, in 2019 the minimum was fixed at 30,000 naira, but that since then we're faced with a situation whereby food inflation is about 23%, unemployment rate is 33.3%, headline inflation is about 18%. And former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, was even saying in one report this morning that the 30,000 naira, that by the time you buy a bag of rice, that 30,000 naira minimum wage is gone. So should Labour be talking about a review even of the same national minimum wage that many states are unable to pay?
It will be downright dishonest of the leadership of Labour to be talking about a review of what has yet to be implemented. I'm saying we need statistics to know how many states have implemented the 30,000 naira minimum wage. But if you now want me to be specific, I recall that Kano has talked about going back to 18,000. Other states might not have verbalized it, but they are not paying. So can you be reviewing what has yet to be implemented? The answer is no. So the lot of the Nigerian worker, regular Nigerian worker, is bad, simply put, and it's unenviable. Labour can do better. Let them lean on government to implement the 30,000 naira minimum wage. Not talk about review. Any talk about review is dishonest.
Okay, what should government do? I mean, since 2015, the present administration at the national level has been talking about economic recovery and growth plan. Only this week, the Federal Executive Council approved a document that was submitted by the Presidential Economic Advisory Council. And that document again talks about Nigeria's poverty reduction through economic growth strategy. Do you think all these poverty alleviation measures, palliatives, do you see the political will to implement those policies and to lift the Nigerian worker and the average citizen out of poverty?
There are very many things in the affairs of Nigeria and Nigerians needing political will. And that's one thing that has become very elusive. Is it in the matter of security? Is it in the matter of the economy? There's so too many buzzwords being bandied, especially when they hold these official governmental meetings. They don't amount to anything. And the believability of government by the citizenry is thinning by the day. So let government pay minimum wage, and they give all kinds of economic terminological inexactitudes, I'll call them, to just confuse the unwary. For those of us who are regular wage earners, we feel it in our pockets. Let them pay minimum wage and do incremental adjustment for those who are not at that level, and stop all this grammar. It is too much grammar, and it is just confusing things. I'm not amused.
Well, Prof, let's move on from Labor Day. Let's talk about security, which is a major area of research for you. Recently, the president appealed to the United States to move the African Command, that is at the Kelly Barracks in Stuttgart, Germany, close to the theater of operation, as a means of helping to ensure security in the Gulf of Guinea, and also help to degrade the threat of terrorism in Africa. Well, I recall that when this African Command was first proposed in 2007, it was starkly opposed by many African leaders. Only two countries, Uganda and Liberia, were enthusiastic about it. Is it given, is it certain that the U.S. will accede to this request by the Nigerian president? And in what ways can the African Command help us to deal with the security challenge we currently face?
Well, if the U.S. government accedes to that request, that would be a plus, plus, plus for not just Nigeria, but the other beleaguered African countries. You talk about 2007. I think I want to go a little further back. I may not recall the exact details now, but General Malu, as a chief of army staff, became at some point very rude to the then Minister of Defense, Lieutenant General Tiwa Danjuma, and President Obasanjo over some relationship that was supposed to be forged with America. As I've said, I do not recall the details, but I won't be surprised if it was all about this African thing. General Malu was vehemently opposed to the thing, and thought then that the president and the Minister of Defense were about quote and unquote selling Nigeria cheap. But then the chickens have come home to roost, and now we are where we are. Everybody knows now that we need help from everywhere. I've read all kinds of articles and listened to comments on the electronic media about AFRICOM, what the negative side of it can be. If liaising with AFRICOM will help us even reduce the burden that we now bear and the pain and shame that Nigerian citizens suffer in the hands of bandits and terrorists, that would be a big deal, because we need to contain this unfortunate situation of you and I waking up and knowing only about today and not being too sure whether tomorrow will see us alive. We need help, and we shouldn't be shy about seeking it wherever we can. So if America will oblige and bring the command is set up for Africa, while located in Stuttgart, Germany, that's some distance away. It can be better utilized if it gets closer to home. And if it is about where to locate the thing in Africa, that shouldn't be a big deal. I'm sure there are so many offers on the table for America to pick and choose. So if we are the chosen one, I will be very glad. I will join in the celebration.
Okay, recently also, the National Assembly and the House of Representatives, that's the Senate and the House of Representatives of Nigeria, called on President Buhari to declare a state of emergency within the security sector. And the Senate is, planning to invite service chiefs. And in the House of Reps, there was also a motion asking that there should be more recruitment into the police. What do you think of some of these suggestions? Would they make any difference? Following the fact that we've been hearing about national security strategy, rejigging of architecture. One Inspector General of Police even got an extension of 3 months. But in the 3 months, many Nigerians didn't see much difference. Maybe we should start with the police and the declaration of emergency. I mean, you've written books, essays, given lectures on the history of policing in Nigeria and how the police as an institution can be made more efficient and effective.
Well, the rain started beating the police from way, way back after the Civil War. And what happened? As military rule dragged, the military appropriated police duties and by extension, police budget. So what little was getting to the MPF, I would say, was cornered by the leadership elite of that force. And then the force was left prostrate. They got a breather in the Second Republic under Sunday Adeus as IGP. But even that breather became a very short-lived relief because by the time the military came back again, incidentally, with then General Muhammad Buhari as head of state, the police was put back in the cooler. They haven't survived that challenge since then. Recruitment virtually stopped. Equipment was not there. Then the gap between the leadership elite and those who actually do policing began to widen, and up to today.
Hello, Prof. Are you still with us? Hello, Prof. Are you still there? We seem to have lost audio connection with him.
It is still widening. I don't know this, but it is seen that abated is what we are dealing with. So the police need 5 times the quantum that they have now by way of personnel. That's the first desideratum. Of course, the second is massive arming of the police. And I might as well just tie that now to even what should happen, this state of emergency thing. Where we are at now it has gone beyond police operation. We surely need a state of emergency, increase in the number of not just the police, but other armed services, but especially the army. So that during that state of emergency where all of us will have to give a bit of our freedom, this present painful challenge of not knowing whether tomorrow will see me or see you alive can be addressed. And if the man you are going to confront is armed with AK-47, what's the value of your Dengon or your batting? I mean, anybody who puts anybody under service now to do any policing duty must arm the individuals heavily, if not more than the prospective challenger, then equally. This whole thing about not providing arms in massive number, because you've got to overwhelm the enemy, for goodness sake. And Burata was living and told us Boko Haram will take 25 years to contain. And why? And then every time you have these security summits, we should be tired of summitry now. It is time for action. Unfortunately, the action that is desirable and desired can only be taken by the government at the center. And that's the government that, from all that we can see, seems to have become lethargic. Whatever sympathy one may have, but the truth should be told. If everybody is shouting and worried about lack of action from the center, then I mean there's a problem with the center. Under this current National Assembly leadership, The Speaker and the Senate President must have interacted with Mr. President not less than 4 or 5 times over this security thing. They will get these buzzwords, the architecture. Then after this, many of these meetings, yesterday could not be concluded. They pushed it to Tuesday. Before Tuesday, only God knows how many Nigerians will have been slaughtered again. So we need action. The joy has gone on for too long. And we are saying the same thing. Those with theoretical orientation will blow all of the theories they know about these things, and you have some of them as your bosom friends. Then you have these fly-by-night pastors and priests, and then I see most of them as necromancers. How can anybody be predicting that in May, June, July, there will be problems? Who does not know that in any month there will be problems? If there is no problem, why then are we as human beings? Is that a prediction or just necromancy? So we need more men under arms. You need to increase the number massively. If it means converting the Amotekuns and the Ebubedike or whatever, and whatever other names, at least those with governmental support. If it means converting them into emergency police, it happened during the Civil War. People were recruited, emergency training, they went to the war front, later came back to train as officers. Many ended up as generals. These times we are in an emergency situation. Governor Masari was telling us emergency rule will not achieve anything. Who told him that? Won't will achieve anything. He tried peace overtures in Kasina. The overtures failed. The man who took the Kankara boys, what people will call his boys away the other day, was killed overnight or yesterday. Doesn't he know now that there will be reprisals? As he prepared now for what might happen following the death of that fellow? Look, I don't want to say too much so that I don't go out of the question I've asked me. More men under arms, then quadrupling of the quantum of arms, and purchasing the team, if it means from Ojuelegba, by all means. After all, they are already here. And so mop them up, but give them to those in whose hands they should be, the arms, so that they can go confront these bandits. I mean, bandits went to Niger, destroyed a military camp, took away their equipment, killed some of their men, and the army said they had closed down the camp. What else should they have done? Leave the camp that had already destroyed open. For what? The goats and rabbits that will feed on the carcasses of people who may not be buried immediately. We need more men under arms, and we need more equipment, and we need a state of emergency. It will mean giving up some of our freedoms, but we did it when COVID was very hot last year and was a novelty. Why can't we be locked down again? This time around, not because of COVID, but because we need to take action against those in whose hands unauthorized arms are. Because these things need to be seriously tackled. So there are no two ways about it. State of emergency, more men under arms, superior equipment in the right numbers.
Prof, yes, you talk about more men and more arms. But many Nigerians were surprised recently when we were told that 144 Nigerian policemen have been sent to Somalia to go and mentor the police in Somalia and help ensure security in Somalia. And meanwhile, in Nigeria here, we have had crisis attacks everywhere in the southwest, the northwest, the northeast, and yet we are giving to other people outside what we do not have at home. And then there has been this phrase about community policing. Well, do you think that that is a good idea? Or the reality we're faced with is the emergence of very determined non-state actors in the southwest and also in the southeast, who claim that they will take charge of security of their people and space if the security agencies are unable to do so.
Now, I'll take them one by one. Sending soldiers to policemen to Somalia. That's not a new thing in the Nigerian governmental order to give what you don't have. I mean, what is that based on? Based on the fact that we have excess police so that we can afford to loan some to outsiders. And by the time they come back now, some specialists said in the commentariat, when our policemen go out, they perform excellently well. So they perform excellently well because they have the equipment, they have the leadership. But when they are back home, even the money that was the Nigerian component of their money, which will have been withheld by their bosses, and then they start negotiating the release of their money. I mean, haven't we seen them protest? So it is not a big deal, and it's not even good international relations. And then sending our policemen to Somalia of all places. The man who is there tried to give himself tenure elongation the other day. It was the massive outcry from all over the world that has made him to relent. What point are we trying to prove? Rubbish. Now, community policing. Oh, that buzzword, community policing. If you have noticed in the life since the man who initiated community policing in 2001 to 3 left office in 2004, that program has not seen the light of day in any meaningful sense. And then this very last one that the immediate past IG did, well, it happened that in 2018, the cohort at NIPS, he was there, I think, as a directing staff. So, and that was the theme for that year, because I interacted with a group of them in Benin where they were on national tour. Now, but the truth about community, this thing they call community policing. Community policing can never be a program. Community policing can be at best a philosophy that should undergird the training of policemen and officers, and then undergird their conduct on the job. But they make community policing look like a program. But if you have noticed, when an IG is beleaguered or his tenure is about to end and he needs something to tell his bosses, I'm alive, I'm busy, then you hear the noise. Community policing. Since February, when Adamu didn't get the tenure, the elongation that he desired, have you not noticed that there has been a quietening down of the noise about community policing? I have said and I maintain the Nigeria police force cannot do community policing on ground on the fact of his staff disposition. The way community policing needs leadership to watch it grow. But you never have, go to any divisional police office, go and check their board to see the turnover of staff at that level. When you take a man from Oshodi and take him to Janguza in Kano or to Golomabiri somewhere in Bayelsa, and he has just started a community policing program, what time has he got to watch? Not to talk of at the state level. CPs just come 1 month, 2 months, 1.5 days, and stuff like that. At a point in Bayelsa, there were 6 commissioners of police within 2 months. 6. The governors just simply got tired, and that's an ex-police officer, that's Sirake Dixon at the time. He couldn't just talk again. So community policing, and then the other day when the noise was at fever pitch, they went and begged the retired IGs to go around talking to policemen. And what did they do? Next thing they did was to be putting some street toughs to put some uniform on their back as community policing officers. So what will happen to the regular police officers that you have abandoned? And if there's anything policemen are very good at, it is sabotage. They'll sabotage any program they are not interested in, and their bosses won't even detect the sabotage. Now Adamu is gone, and a new man is in town. You wait, you see what will happen. But you will have noticed that the noise about community policing has gone down considerably. So I don't remember what else you asked me.
I asked about non-state actors that seem to have...
Well, non-state actors, if there is any headache that I have as I'm talking to you now, it is the fear of the visibility and prominence that the mismanagement of our security, to use the buzzword, architecture, has bred, that those people have come onto the scene. Non-state actors that are now warlords, because that's what they are increasingly becoming. You and I can go to a garden now where any of these non-state actors will also be present. You'll be lucky. If they speak before you or speak before me, we have to shut our mouths and just quietly sneak away. Because if we get up to speak and say things that don't align with the hype that they desire, because almost all of the non-state actors are now asking for secession, whichever way they are couching it, one way or the other. You and I won't subscribe to that. But you know the implication. We will be beaten up. If not immediately at the venue on our way back home. And do I want to lose my life for wanting to speak truth to any power? So non-state actors have been given visibility. And the thing is, the genie is out of the bottle. How do you put it back? So that's why we need in the immediate reining in, dealing with the bandits, then you focus on how you rein in the non-state actors who are now becoming warlords. I'm not amused by their visibility and their prominence, not at all. But that's what the mismanagement of our security and the general governance style of the central government, that's what it has bred, giving visibility to non-state actors.
Well, on that note, Prof, we'll take a short commercial break, and then when we return, the conversation will continue, and would begin to engage our listeners who would like to also intervene and make comments about the state of affairs in Nigeria today. Please stay with us. We'll be right back, Prof.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.
On your number one lifestyle station, City 105.1 FM. And I remain your host, Reuben Abati. And today we're discussing, Workers' Day, national security, and state of the nation. And our guest today is Professor Kemi Rotimi, Professor of History at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. Remember, if you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700 1051 1051. And on WhatsApp, 09099164403. And on our social media accounts at City1051 on Zoom, Twitter, and Facebook. Well, Professor Rotimi, thank you very much for staying with us. Hello, Prof. Can you hear me?
Clearly.
Okay. Well, Prof, I already have some questions here for you from some of our listeners. This is from Foluke Ademokun. She says, whatever we do to the security architecture, we should involve women in all the pillars. We also need to cleanse the police of impunity. Is this about gender?
Well, I am not surprised that the gender card is being played, but Ademokun of Foluke should help us mobilize women Amazons. They used to be in the Daomian army of old. And I know that since the insurgency in the Northeast began, some gallant women in Adamawa who are leading the fight against the terrorists. So I'm not sure there's any bar to the enlistment of valiant women who are ready to brave it all. And who knows, among them we may eventually have some heroines. And then when normalcy returns, we recruit them into the police, and one of them may eventually be Inspector General of the police. Why not? So if Foluke is aware of any bar to the involvement of women, she should let us know who will lead the campaign. After all, today in the Punch, an AIG was interviewed, and she's in charge of dogs. Okay, veterinary doctor, but she has risen to the rank of AIG. I don't think there's any bar. Foluke should feel welcome, and if she's interested, why not? The uniform could be very good on her.
Okay, very quickly, this is from Dr. Abiodun Adeniyi. He's saying, regarding insecurity, how much force do you think we can deploy to deal with violent ideologies constructed over years of religious perversion from, just a moment, from the economic and survival loop?
Now, this thing about deployment of force, as far as I am concerned as Kemi Rotimi, let us deploy the force first. Let the state establish the fact that the monopoly on violence, it is exclusive preserved. That's what we're losing now, and that's why some of us are worried. Because the state is the monopoly on violence should be the preserver of the state. But you have non-state actors now, and all kinds of pseudo-state actors challenging the authority of the state. You burn down police headquarters, you invade the prison, you smash the place. What are we talking about there? So let that force be employed first, and let's have a heavy dose, very heavy dose of it. And then, if those who are challenging state authority get to that point, like they did in Jamena, God rest the soul of Idris Deby, when he chased Boko Haram to their enclave, and one of their leaders said, Oga, you have beaten us enough now. If Nigeria had joined forces with him there, maybe the story would be different. And maybe this devil will still be alive today. So, force, how much force? Heavy dose, very heavy dose of force. We cannot have too much of force. We can only have too little. Yes.
Okay, we'll take calls from our listeners. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700-1051-1051. Do we have any caller on the line out there? Okay. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Dr. Reuben Abati. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I agree to Professor Kemi. Rotimi. Good afternoon, sir. You have to tell here from, I think here is Ikeja. Yeah, good morning. Good afternoon. Yeah, number one, my first concern is a question. Professor, what do you say about the attitude of the practice of Nigerian government that would have trained, whether police, army, abroad, everywhere, and some of these people, majority of them, before the attainment of age of 60 years, or even working up to 35 years in service, Nigerian government will just retire them. And this, for me, kills the morale of these people. That's number one. Number two, we have a very special case in the case of Retire and Co., where they were due for retirement and the government extended it for additional 5 years. What impact do you think this is going to have on their morale? That's one. Number two, I don't agree with you on the issue of force. Because if you look at the issues that are brought about this state actors you are talking about, you see that it's about the failure of government. And I don't think any government can succeed in terms of military action in any way when they don't have the support of the people. The people already see the government as the enemy. The government already has declared war against them in terms of economic, social, and whatever. So if you now want to go to any place and you don't have the support of those people, do you think any military action is going to give you success? That is not going to happen. Then on the issue of the US, Africa, whatever, the Nigerian politicians, majorly some of them from the north, they will never allow it, because if the UK minister said it, any partnership with Nigeria will never succeed. It will never work. I already see some of comments coming from people like Masari in Katsina. Despite the problems or the worries of the people. You see, we need to address this issue pointedly and very brutal to ourselves. Nigeria is about a lot of hypocrisy, and that is why we are here. Let us tell ourselves the truth. Good morning.
Hello, Prof. Did you hear him?
I heard him loud and clear.
Okay.
And then he says, greet me good morning. I'll greet him good afternoon, because this is 20 minutes to 1. Now, rapid turnover of leadership. Well, you are talking about these changes in the leadership of the police over time. Well, when people enlist in forces or in any organization, there is a sell-by date. So you know when you are due to retire. It happened that in the Nigeria Police Force, over time, this whole thing about picking the Inspector General from the ranks of the AIGs led to a massive turnover of leadership at that level. And that's part of the point I'm making, why this thing they call community policing cannot work. Because it's only this time around now that, okay, the leadership has been picked from the DIGs. Fine. So at least so many jobs have been saved at the AIG level. But that is actually neither here nor there. Let me repeat what I said earlier. The policing that touches lives is done by recruit constables up to inspector. AIGs don't go chasing thieves at night. Commissioners of police don't go chasing thieves at night. So if we want to know this, unless and until the welfare gap between the officer class of the Nigeria Police Force and the other ranks is significantly closed, we won't get the policing that we desire. We don't have much time, so I cannot elaborate much. But just to let you know that that challenge is an age-old one. I'm a historian. I came by a document in 2018 in the home of a late AIG in Warri on when in 1975 to 76, the then Inspector General, MD Yusufu, set up a panel to look into the welfare challenge of the inspectorate and other ranks and how to ameliorate them. 101-page report typescript. I have the document. Now, it showed very clearly what the gap was between the officer class and the other rank. That gap has not been closed up till today. So we need more policemen, and then the leadership turnover can be mitigated. The government has demonstrated it this time around. For the service chiefs the other day who are there and their tenures are extended, there are certain things that are the prerogative of Mr. President. And I don't like to query things like that because appointments at that level are his prerogative. He can hire and fire at his will. If for reasons best known to him, he kept them for 5 years. Well, they have since left and now they are beginning to talk. And many Nigerians don't know, many of these people speak more sense when they have dropped their uniform than when they're there. Burata would not have said what he said the other day when he was still wearing uniform. Olonishakin said the other day that this invasion of the forest, he saw it coming when he was in service. Who did he share the information with and with what consequences? Now, so we tend to focus too much on the leadership. It is not the leadership, even now fighting Boko Haram or bandits. Yes, officers get killed, but the bulk of the fighting troops are still from the recruits up to the NCO class. Those are the people's welfare government needs to pay more attention to by leaning on the officers to stop appropriating these wages and salaries of their men. Now, you would think that the application of force might alienate the citizenry, where neither here nor there. Where we are at now in the matter of security in Nigeria, that application of force is a desideratum. Because you need to, I can't drive alone in my car from Ife to Shobo. Isn't that serious? The way things are now. We need some guarantee that some normalcy has been restored. Government has to take possession of the fact that the monopoly on violence is his prerogative. That has been lost and that must be restored. And there's a phenomenon that is brewing. By the time we even manage to contain the current challenge, the quantum of light arms, small arms and light weapons already in Nigeria will now confront the mopping up operation. That has been on for long, but in the immediate, let us demonstrate to these bandits that there is no weapon they can own that should be more than what the state can mobilize. So that's the point. And the citizens will have to make up their mind. What do you want? Do you want security or you want government to leave you alone to do self-help? Self-help means that you mobilize non-state actors. Non-state actors, so with time, will grow into monsters. That is demonstrated, and we don't need to quibble about that. US African program, well, he that is down needs fear no fall. We are already down, and let us not quibble about it. If leaguing up with America over Africa will bring us the relief that we desire, don't let our pride get the better of us. So I'm for that program, and I'm defending it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Prof. Do we have another caller on the line for Prof on the issue of policing and security, state of the nation, and Workers' Day today? Anyway, while we're waiting for that next call, Professor Rotimi, I would like to ask you, in all of these, what are your thoughts about state police? That has been part of the recommendations in all the various conferences, national conferences we've been having since 1999. Now, state police.
Well, because you are familiar with my research orientation, so I think you can guess what my answer will be. I'm all for the deregulation of policing, such that we have it at more levels than one. And it is not a novelty. I mean, the launch pad for my career as a historian of the police was my detailed study of the defunct native authority stroke local government police forces of the northern and western regions. Many Nigerians don't know that Nigeria used to have a dual policing system from colonial times through to the collapse of the First Republic. But in vintage Nigeria, and one of those things that military rule did to us, it was the wisdom of that age, but it has become the foolishness of today. The abolition of the NALG police by beginning with the Rossi government, it dragged from 1966, ended in 1970, is what we are paying for today. But like many things, the overreaction to the politicians of the First Republic bred so many ill thought out ideas that were implemented then. But since 1999, many Nigerians also do not now recall that the kite about state police was actually first flown under President Obasanjo with Sarumi as his Minister of Information. But the thing didn't take root, and then it just fizzled out. But there's something about the crop of persons that we have in the Nigerian National Assembly and this attitude to constitution review. It is a peculiar Nigerian orientation that every National Assembly round wants to do a wholesale review of all of the paragraphs and clauses of the Nigerian Constitution. It doesn't happen that way. If an issue like state police have been taken up, over time we have had all of the debates, perhaps we'll have got somewhere now. And I must mention one golden opportunity that Nigerians lost in 2014. That confab that Jonathan, when Reuben was a spokesperson, put together. That was the first time in Nigeria's post-colonial history that the educated elite came closest to a consensus on many of the thorny issues that have bedeviled this country. But the report was just put on the shelf, and I hope it is still available. But that was the closest we had to sorting out many of these things. State police is a desideratum. I can't move away from it. And in fairness to one member of the National Assembly, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, his stridency over advocating for that thing is commendable. If he had had support from his colleagues, instead of this omnibus constitution review, and then the DSP is the permanent chairman of that body, then they will start gallivanting. Seminar in Uyo, the next one in Badagry, the next one in Janguza, but they won't go to Sambisa to go and hold another round of discussion. Now, it is just a waste of our money and our time. Let anybody take the American Constitution and look at the amendments there. They have dates and the issues that came up that warranted a review. But ours is omnibus review. We need state police now more than at any time in our history. And what will it do for us? Two things. One, this proliferation of all manner of bodies arrogating to themselves police duties, Peace Corps, Hunters Guild, Amotekun Agbamrere, and then Ebubedike, APN, ECN. I mean, we have to go that route of state police. It used to be the thing about, Northerners will not like it. Northerners are now shouting for it. Is anybody more Northern than Governor El-Rufai? Has he not been talking about it? Many Northern governors have been talking about it. So we are ready for it. And let nobody come up with this nonsense about state governors, we use them to victimize their political opponents. Any wise state governor will advise himself about the foolishness of that gambit. Because under our current arrangement, you have only 8 years. By the time you leave office, you have to beg God. If you have used the police to tyrannize your opponents, your successor, who could be your protege before getting into office, may be the one to now use the police to put raw pepper in your eyes. So, and in my study, it's already established. In the First Republic, there are 3 names that I like to mention. Afolabi, Odunjo, and Omoboreo were AG people. and they suffered in the hands of the Akitola government and the police. By the Second Republic, they were still in government, and they wanted to be governors of Ogun, Oyo, and Ondo, move from the UPN to the MPN. The brief time they enjoyed, including Omoboro, was when the police were following them about. So anybody can misuse the police. And since 1999 up to now, haven't we seen what governors have done with the police? And then governors are human beings. They're sure to quarrel with people that they help to make, and the examples are all over the place. So state police cannot be negated from this noise about politicians. We use them to victimize political. Only a foolish politician will try it, because if you try it, you have only one prayer to say: to die in office. If you do not die in office, that same police loyalty is to the government of the day. Many Nigerians don't appreciate that fact. When you are in government, the police is obliged to protect you. Yes, occasionally they misdirect themselves, and they can be misdirected deriving from very many reasons. But most wise policemen don't oblige foolish governors. State police, time is overripe for it. Short answer.
Well, a few seconds ago, I heard you referring to Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna State and the efforts he's making. But this morning, I read a piece by Professor Usman Yusuf, former Director General of the National Health Insurance Scheme. And he is very critical of Governor Nasir El-Rufai. And he provides information that the students that were kidnapped from the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization on 11th March, that they've been in captivity for about 50 days now. 29 of them are still in captivity. And then on 20th April, students were kidnapped from Greenfield University. 5 of them have been murdered. 18 are still alive. And they've been in captivity for 11 days. And he thinks that the governor of Kaduna State is talking about he won't pay ransom. His government will not negotiate with bandits. And he's very critical. I don't even want to quote the title of that commentary on radio. Do you think government should negotiate, should pay ransom as a way of addressing this security challenge? Parents of the affected students in Kaduna State, they have asked people to even come to their rescue, that they as parents are willing to pay whatever ransom the bandits are asking for.
Now, let me start with Professor Yusuf, your regular guest on your television station, and a man whose views I'm familiar with. Usman Yusuf, you know where he's coming from. Usman Yusuf and Sheikh Gumi are allies in this whole thing about we are the ones who can talk to bandits. We go to meet them in their camps. But can Usman Yusuf fault El-Rufai on his unassailable argument, i.e., we have tried the option of appeasement, we have paid ransom. Has it helped anything? The answer is clearly a no. If El-Rufai is unwilling to pay ransom, that is not because El-Rufai is hard at it. El-Rufai is just tired of this whole thing about further fueling banditry through the payment of ransoms. In today's nation, 2 pages there, the people of Niger State are now talking about the ransom that we get from taking loans. Can you imagine that double jeopardy? They take loans to pay ransom, and then they are not sure that their children or those who are kidnapped or who are in captivity will be released. If El-Rufai is talking about let us not continue to appease bandits through the payment of ransom. El-Rufai is on terra firma. It is an experience he has had before. He campaigned for payment of ransom before when Jonathan was in government. He has since revised his position on very reasonable argument. So what are we talking about here? But what people do not want to concede to El-Rufai does not own the instrument of coercion that can be deployed in a massive show of force that will bring about the release of the kidnapped students outside of payment of ransom. And if you have 39 in captivity and El-Rufai is to pay ransom, how much will he pay per head? These parents, they have my deepest sympathy, but if it has been convenient to mobilize the funds, wouldn't they have done so? Those who are released, what is common knowledge is that their relations and family members mobilized the funds and paid. That's why they have been released. So if the others can, don't mind the threat by the Kaduna government about jailing people or putting them in the dock if they negotiate. They won't do that to any parent. But the truth of the matter, between Yusuf and El-Rufai, anytime, any day, I'll queue behind El-Rufai. Yusuf can go on blowing his American English and then cavorting with Sheikh Gumi. I know where he's coming from. He's eloquent. When he talks, if you are unwary and you are not too lettered, you can be carried away. But not some of us. People just want to post. Part of what I'm saying about this banditry and the terrorism is that all manner of intermediaries have now come up, do-gooders, warlords, and then people, when you scratch them beneath the surface, you find blood, pretending to be nationalists. Hey, come off it. Let Yusuf mobilize funds. After all, there are issues of funds when he presided over that governmental office then. In the end, he got a slap on the wrist as he finished spending all that may have been an issue. So if he has the money, let him loan the parents the money. But let people not just pounce on El-Rufai because you don't like him. I mean, we know that politics is involved in these things. But what you cannot fault El-Rufai on is the quality of his argument. Appeasement, what is his name? Masari took photographs with bandits carrying AK-47. Didn't they turn around to put pepper in the man's eyes, literally? And the man now talks what I would say both sides of his mouth. But we know when he was really injured the other day, he cried out loud. Can anybody be more sympathetic to bandits than Matawale of Zamfara? What has been the outcome? Tell me where appeasement has not been tried, and tell me where these bandits have relented on the basis of the appeasement that has been tried. What are we talking about? I mean, the Niger governor has been crying. The people, when I read a bit of that report about Niger citizens talking about taking loans to pay bandits, they are now complaining about government abandoning them. I just laughed. The citizens are complaining about the government abandoning them. The governor is complaining about the federal government abandoning them. So what are abandoning him? So where do we go from here? It is about the quality of governance at the center. That there are no two ways about this. The government at the center, which has the privilege of the monopoly on violence, because whether you're talking about the police or talking about the armed forces, the government that runs all of this. Let the federal government get its act together and stop holding these meetings that they do, and now they are now getting into a new phenomenon. They will start it on a Friday and postpone it till Tuesday. By Tuesday, when they resume, maybe they postpone it again till Saturday. And in between, bandits will be let loose on us. This is not about El-Rufai, for goodness sake. It is about bandits who just want to make Kaduna ungovernable just so that El-Rufai will panic. But does El-Rufai look to them as somebody who panics that readily? It is not because he's at that age. I mean, so you still can say whatever he wants to say, but I don't think El-Rufai has said anything or done anything that you want to guillotine him for.
Quickly, Prof, we're just about to close this conversation, but one question, which is a follow-up to something you said earlier on. You talked about prophets and priests and clerics as necromancers. And incidentally, in the Professor Usman Yusuf piece today that I was referring to, in fact, he was calling on them to play a role in ensuring security in Nigeria. Well, those priests and clerics that you dismiss, would that by any chance include Father Ejike Mbaka, who says he has heard from God, and God has told him that President Buhari should either resign or he should be impeached?
Ejika Mbaka is on top of that list, if that is a short answer. But if you want a longer one, I'll provide it. Gabashew, the irrepressible spokesperson for the president, who has created a new entity in government called the presidency. This presidency says the presidency has assumed a human form as far as Gabashew is concerned. Anyway, said Ejike Mbaka came around with 2 contractors to beg for contract. And President Buhari referred him and his co-travelers to the relevant people who should handle that. The request was disobliged, and now he's complaining. I've read all kinds of silly reactions by sympathizers. They have not addressed the issue. Did Ejike Mbaka visit President Buhari at some point with 2 contractors to do what type of contract? Because at the point there were rats in the villa. Is it to provide the rat killer or help to cleanse the place? The point is about Nigeria is an unnecessarily religious society. So people give too much prominence to these people that some of us will not even greet if we pass by them. I mean, Ejike Mbaka, if he can sit back and reflect, he has overstretched himself. And Ejike Mbaka is beginning to lose credibility, he should be told. Some of us, I don't need God in any excessive way, so I will never be an acolyte of Ejike Mbaka. I mean what I said earlier. A good number of them are just necromancers and then fly-by-night prophets and priests. I mean, somebody is predicting that there will be trouble May, June, July. Is there any month that there won't be trouble? What are we talking about there? For goodness sake. I mean, these people can't even be intermediaries. They can't be honest ones. God spoke to him. Is it the only one God speaks to? President Buhari doesn't miss his 5 daily prayers. If God is not speaking to Buhari, who is speaking to him? In 1985, when he was removed from office as Minister of State, did those who remove him ever think that a time like this will come? Isn't the man back now? Elected president of Nigeria at a time when the office of president has become such an awesomely powerful one. And the way things are, God will spend his life. He will spend 8 years modeling through. So Ejike Mbaka should focus on adoration and be praying to God for peace in the land. He should stop putting his mouth in everything and stop telling us God will remove Ejike Mbaka. He predicted that, what is his name, the luckiest governor in Nigeria to date, in Imo. What is his name? Opuzodima will be governor. Yes, Opuzodima became governor. But he said Opuzodima has not come back to say thank you. What kind of thank you is that? Or you and I, don't we know what thank you means? Opuzodima, for those of us who are not stargazers, that's a lucky chap. Supreme Court gave him his governorship. Supreme Court has given Ebezim the senatorial seat. You need to profile Opuzodima in another light, not the Ejike Mbaka thing. What is this nonsense about some priests telling us that they talk to God? Do I talk to the devil? I don't pray the way Ejike Mbaka prays, but God's grace every time, every day. For all thy mercies, oh my God. Let Ejike Mbaka go and sit down somewhere.
Well, on that note, thank you very much, Professor Kemi Rotimi, for taking time out to join us on City Talks with Reuben Abati. Our hope is that Nigeria will continue to make progress and the interests of the Nigerian worker will be addressed as, Nigerian workers mark Workers' Day on this occasion, May 1, 2021. Many thanks also to our listeners and those who reach out to us on Zoom, Twitter, and Facebook. The conversation does not end here. You can reach out to me on my social media account at Abati1990, both on Instagram and Twitter. And you can also follow the conversation at City1051 on all social media platforms. For those of you who tuned in late, no need to worry. You can visit YouTube page City1051 and watch the entire show. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to tune in next week at noon for another exciting edition of City Talks. My name is Reuben Abati. The show was produced by Adedoja Allen, Abiodun Odunton, Ayodamola Oludara, Oluwaseun Adetitun, and Olanrewaju Onikwede Jr. Have a great weekend and join us again next week. Same time. Thank you.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.